Yesterday, as I'm recording this on Monday morning right now, you can take what you want out of yesterday's complete atrocity against the Arizona Cardinals. You can take it from the lack of the finishing of the drives. You can take it from Mike Tomlin's coaching and his lack of preparedness once again against a team that, for all intents and purposes, has punted the season since before it even began. The injuries that we had in the game as well. I mean, Minka Fitzpatrick broke his hand. Landon Roberts got hurt in the game. Isaac Seumalo's hurt. And TJ Watt was in a lot of visible pain as well. And we have all this stuff on a short week where we got to play the Patriots Thursday night in primetime. Still a home game. But now you are without your quarterback probably until New Year's. Or at least until New Year's Eve at the bare minimum. What's going on, everybody? I am Mac. Back with another video. As always, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe. Follow on Instagram, link is in the box below. So I just got the news about Kenny Pickett. His ankle injury is, quote, not good, according to Adam Schefter. And he is expected to miss 2 to 4 weeks. And he's going to undergo ankle surgery that's going to keep him out for that period of time. So basically, as far as I'm concerned, we're probably not going to see Kenny Pickett until probably our Week 17 matchup against the Seahawks, which is on New Year's Eve, as I just said. But honestly, at this point, what difference does it make? I mean, it's bad enough already that I have to sit down here and downplay the poor kid. Not that I want Kenny Pickett to be hurt. I actually hope that his surgery is successful, and I hope the best for him. Hopefully he can, recover well and be healthy. But as a football player and as the quarterback of this franchise, what difference does it make in the grand scheme of things? Because think about it. Number one, if you don't have your quarterback, or if you don't have a franchise quarterback, especially in today's league, or you don't even have a serviceable quarterback in today's league, you're basically entering a point to where you got to start it all over again, and you're either wasting talent, which is your best case scenario if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. And what I mean by that, it's because this is TJ Watt's 7th season in the league. This is Minka Fitzpatrick's 4th full season as a Steeler. You're wasting their primes. TJ and Minka ain't getting any younger. And they both got hurt on a Sunday's game. Their status for Thursday is unknown. I anticipate them to play, but then again, I'm not Mike Tomlin sitting down here saying, yeah, they're good to play. I'm certainly not a doctor saying, yeah, they're good to play. But you're getting further into their careers, and they have yet to win a single playoff game for us. So there's number one. And secondly, like I just said, what is the difference? Whether you put out Kenny Pickett, whether you put out Mitch Trubisky, which is what we're going to do Thursday night, because I don't know what it is with Mason Rudolph. I don't know if Mike Tomlin has some sort of beef with Mason Rudolph. I don't know if he doesn't fully trust Mason Rudolph because of the concussion that he sustained 4 freaking years ago in that Baltimore Ravens game that he had, and he still thinks Kenny Pickett doesn't have the confidence to go out there and play, even though we've seen it be otherwise the case from the very few times that he has taken the field for us. I don't even know if Mason Rudolph I don't know if he smashed Tomlin's wife or something. I don't know what Mason Rudolph did to deserve the shackles and being handcuffed and chained to the bench. But I mean, here's the thing. The Steelers weren't scoring regardless if Kenny Pickett was healthy or not. Do you guys realize that Kenny Pickett's last touchdown pass was ironically the last time that we played a Thursday night game against the Tennessee Titans on November 2nd? You heard that right. I am currently recording this on December 4th, 2023. It has been 32 days. 32 days since Kenny Pickett has thrown a touchdown pass. And you can pretty much extend that to being at least 56 days. Okay? Because like I said at the beginning, this surgery that is required for him is going to keep him out until at least New Year's Eve. So as far as I'm concerned, Kenny Pickett has not thrown a touchdown pass in 8 weeks, as far as I'm concerned. Over a month it's been since he has thrown a touchdown pass. And it was the game-winning touchdown pass against Tennessee. But that's the thing about Kenny Pickett. We see glimpses of this. We see flashes of what he can be. But we never fully see what he's capable of doing. And the worst part about it is we don't have, oh, well, he has a crappy offensive coordinator with Matt Canada. We can't sing that song anymore. Which, yes, Matt Canada, his firing was warranted because he was not the whole problem with this offense, but he definitely was a big part of the problem. Kenny Pickett is the biggest problem. And wouldn't you know it, the Steelers left more points off the board against Arizona on Sunday. We left at least 2 touchdowns off the board. I mean, for God's sake, like I said, Kenny Pickett only has 2 touchdowns in over a month. His last passing one was November 2nd, the Thursday night game. Joe Flacco, who the Cleveland Browns just signed last week to be their starting quarterback, made his Browns debut at SoFi against the Rams on Sunday. Joe Flacco threw 2 touchdown passes. So don't tell me that you're a starting quarterback in this league and you can't produce more than 2 touchdowns. Joe Flacco's 1,000,000 years old. He threw 2 touchdowns against the Rams. So what's that tell you about Kenny Pickett? That he's worse than a guy who had his 15 minutes of fame on a fluke Super Bowl run with the Baltimore Ravens over a decade ago? Is that what you're trying to tell me about Pickett? I just don't understand it, man. And that just leads to my whole point about the future of this franchise when it comes to the offense, especially the quarterback. There's going to be no drastic changes. Because regardless of who we plug and play at quarterback Thursday night, whether it is Mitch Trubisky, you're not going to see a huge, drastic, dramatic change on the play because we know the type of QB that Trubisky is. He's the same QB that Kenny Pickett is. They're scared to make mistakes. The drives are not going to be finished. There's going to be points left off the board. They don't take shots down the field. They're scared to make a mistake. They have terrible pocket awareness. It's dinks and dunks, short slants, sideline shots. The inability to make a play with their legs when all their guys are being locked down. One read quarterbacks. That's what you're going to see Thursday night. It's basically if Kenny Pickett just changed his number from 8 to 10. That's all it is. They don't let the plays develop. It's the same type of QB that's going to go out there. And I'm telling you right now, guys, these next 2-4 weeks, the rest of December as far as I'm concerned, it really is going to show how truly valuable Kenny Pickett is or what his true meaning to the Pittsburgh Steelers is when you look at his short career as from a nutshell. Okay? Because say Mitch Trubisky goes out there and the offense is still faltering, that tells you all you need to know, that the quarterback is the glaring problem of this franchise. You know, we sat back and used Matt Canada as the scapegoat, rightfully so. But I always knew at the back of my mind that while Matt Canada was a big problem with the play calling and the offense, and he just could not be the guy calling the plays with this offense going forward, I always knew at the back of my mind, you know what, Kenny, you're not completely innocent either. Because your play style just does not evolve in any facet, in any iota of the game. It just doesn't. Steeler fans, it's time to take a hard look at yourself in the mirror. And hey, you know, I can sit back and eat crow. I can sit back and admit when I'm wrong. I was excited when we fired Matt Canada. 90% of this fan base was. Okay? But looking back on it now, should we have let Canada finish up the rest of the season? Should we have done it? Did we throw him under the bus for the bad to poor play style that Kenny Pickett has done this year? I mean, the guy only has 6 touchdown passes on the year. For crying out loud, Big Ben in the 2014 season threw 6 touchdown passes in one game, twice in back-to-back weeks. Big Ben had as many touchdown passes than Kenny Pickett has this whole season in one game. So what's that tell you right there if you really want to take things back a notch? And it's not like Kenny Pickett has been completely healthy as well. I mean, this is his 4th injury since last year. I was right to say in my post game that he is soft. He really is. He's frail. And I can't stand it when people compare Kenny Pickett to Big Ben just because Kenny Pickett had good maneuverability in the pocket like Big Ben did, and, Kenny Pickett wasn't supposed to be the starting QB like Big Ben was. Stop comparing this guy to Big Ben. They're not even in the same atmosphere as one another. They don't even inhale the same oxygen as each other. Stop comparing Kenny Pickett to Big Ben just because Kenny Pickett can string together some 4th quarter comebacks here and there, okay? Like Big Ben did. Big Ben is top 3 all time in that category. So just stop it. Big Ben, sure, while he had injuries pile up on him, the majority of them, I'm not going to say all of them because he did have a couple of them that kept him out for extended periods of time, but the majority of them, he was able to play through with them. Okay? This is Kenny Pickett's, in half of his injuries that he's had, this is now the second one, at least the second one, that's going to keep him out for an extended period of time. Kenny Pickett will never be on the same level that Big Ben was. So just stop comparing it. Big Ben was a risk taker. Big Ben was a gunslinger. Big Ben was hard to bring down. When he was in his prime, he was as good as any QB in the league. Okay? He was one of the hardest QBs to sack. Even though he was the most sacked quarterback in the league during his era, he was hard to sack. Okay? The way he wrestled off defenders, the way he was able to maneuver in the pocket to create space with his receivers, the clutch gene that he had, him not being afraid to make a mistake, him being able to make a play when the lights shine down on him the most, him being fearless going up the middle to face linebackers. I just don't see that with Kenny Pickett. I see a guy who panics too easily. I see a guy who gets his nerves racked too easily. Like I said, 4 injuries since last year. 2 concussions last year is alarming enough. A rib injury this year, and now he has this ankle injury that's going to require surgery, and it's going to require him pretty much a month for him to recover from. And the worst thing about it is we can't even say the Steelers are tanking. They're in win mode now. But how can you be in win mode now when you just dropped one to a team that was 2-10 entering Sunday? You have to make your investments, which you made in the offseason, worth it now. With what you did with the offensive line. With, drafting Broderick Jones. With drafting Darnell Washington. With drafting Keanu Benton. With Nick Herbig. With getting Nate Herbig. You have to make your investments worth it now. Down the final 5 weeks of the season. You're 7-5. A very misleading 7-5. You do not deserve to be in the playoff picture at all. Especially after Sunday. You just don't. But you can't even say that you're going to tank now because whether or not Caleb Williams is worth it in the grand scheme of things, personally, I think he's a little overhyped. But regardless if Caleb Williams is worth it in the grand scheme of things, it's too late for you to try and tank for him because you're not going to finish with a bottom 3 record in the league. You're not going to finish with a top 5 draft pick. At best, you're going to be middle of the pack when it comes to drafting in the first round next year, unless Omar Khan tries to be aggressive in the draft like he was last year. So, if you miss the playoffs this year, not only is it an epic failure on all proportions this year, considering the offseason that you had, now you're looking at a situation to where you kind of need to suck in 2024 to get one of those quarterback prospects that are up and coming in 24 and 25. Because in the next few drafts, there are some nice QB prospects that any team would want to go after. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers got to be right in there with that. Because Kenny Pickett, he's not the guy. Face it, guys. Do you want to take this gamble with Kenny Pickett going forward, knowing that he's injury prone, knowing that, apparently he can only have 2 touchdown passes in a month, knowing his type of quarterback play style, knowing that he's scared to make a play, knowing that he's afraid to take a shot down the field, knowing that he's a glorified game manager and check down artist who doesn't take deep risk passes when he has the frickin' talent to do so? An uncertain future at offensive coordinator, which Sullivan and Faulkner are not long-term. I have to stress it for the millionth time. They need to go back to their respective positions at the end of the year and bring in a bleeping offensive coordinator from outside the organization. Hey, the Panthers just fired Frank Reich. I guess I have to say it all over again. Bring Frank Reich into Pittsburgh. The guy made Carson Wentz look like an MVP QB. He was having that MVP season until his ACL injury, and the Eagles still won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles as the QB, and he won Super Bowl MVP. I ain't saying that's going to be the case with Kenny Pickett, but you get my drift. He was the quarterback in January of 1993 for the Buffalo Bills when they were getting blown out 35-3 to the Houston Oilers at the time in the wild card and conducted the comeback against the Oilers. Seems like he works pretty well with quarterbacks, wouldn't you say? It's almost like he was one himself. Maybe he can make Kenny Pickett good. Maybe he can work on Kenny Pickett's confidence. Maybe he can even work on Mitch Trubisky's confidence. Okay? Get him over here. My subscribers, you know I've been singing that tune all off season. He's not a good head coach, but he's a really good coordinator. Get him over here. Byron Leftwich is my next guy. He has ties with Tomlin. He knows how Tomlin works. He was a backup QB for us in 08 when we won the Super Bowl. He works well with quarterbacks. While he had a little bit of a sour note in Tampa Bay in his last season, it can't hurt to bring him on over. At least give him a phone call and say, "Hey, you're up, Byron. Let's see what you got." The worst that can happen is that he just shows he's not the guy. But going back to what I was saying, Steeler fans, you want to take this risk on Kenny Pickett? You want to take the gamble with him, knowing that he's injury prone and knowing that he's a glorified checkdown artist? Do you really think it's worth it in the grand scheme of things? He ain't going to evolve. He ain't going to, improve. He's the main culprit for why this offense is being held back. And now we're about to see what his true meaning to the Pittsburgh Steelers is now that he's going to be out because he needs surgery on his ankle. And that's really all I got to say. So don't expect anything big for Thursday night. I'll still sit down here and co-stream the game with Beantown Breakdown. I'll still come on here and make my preview for the game. I'll still make my weekly picks. But this is just coming to my mind right now about, Kenny Pickett needs surgery. Okay, cool. Why is this breaking news? It's not like we're going to do anything anyway offensively. It's not like we were doing anything offensively anyway. Kenny, get better, brother. But honestly, at this point, what difference does it make if you're on the field or not? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. This is Mac checking on out for the day. Have a good one, everybody.